George, I'm sorry for that. It was a brilliant drive.
Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome! Yes, we are back with another review after a little hiatus, but we're now fully recharged with plenty of new ideas and videos to come. In this video I'll be reviewing yet another Minichamps Mercedes W11 model scale 1/18. This time I have here the George Russell Sakhir Grand Prix version from the 2020 Formula 1 season. That race in Sakhir 2020 was quite a particular one. Reigning world champion Lewis Hamilton had renewed his title at the previous venue in Turkey and had also just won the first race of the doubleheader in Bahrain. The second round, called the Sakhir Grand Prix, would be run on the outer loop or oval circuit if you will. Hamilton, however, had contracted COVID-19 and was ruled out for that race. Normally teams have a reserve driver nominated to fill in case one of the regular drivers isn't able to compete. Belgian Stoffel van Doorne was at the time the reserve driver for Mercedes, and the fact that he was actually present in Bahrain meant he could stand in for Lewis. Mercedes, however, chose to promote Williams driver George Russell, who was part of the junior program. This made sense as he was very much touted as a future Mercedes driver. In fact, in the meantime, he has gone on to make his full-time debut for Mercedes this 2022 season. It also gave the team an opportunity at the time to gauge how good Russell could be in a top-tier car. Russell adapted wonderfully well, which for a lot of people suggested that Hamilton's success was indeed down to the car. Or it could also mean that Russell was already more or less on the same level as Lewis. No matter how you look at it, Russell filled Lewis's shoes with verve. He was narrowly outqualified by his teammate Bottas, but in the race he took the lead immediately and never looked back. Until lap 61, that is, when his Williams replacement Jack Aitken had a small crash. A safety car was then called out, and Mercedes opted to stack both cars in the pit. Amid the confusion, Russell was fitted the front tires of Bottas. It's only when the Finn got serviced straight thereafter that the team noticed the mistake. Bottas then had to leave with his old tires bolted back on again, and Russell came in a lap later to change to a set of his own tires this time. Luckily the safety car was still out there and George only lost a couple of places. Given the overspeed of his machinery on this track and the fact that Bottas was now on old tires, everything was not lost just yet. Russell quickly made his way back to the front once the safety car had released the field. He was catching race leader Perez at a fair rate of knots. Surely Russell now was on course for the win. But then his engineer Bono came on the radio, informing him that he had a slow puncture. The young Brit questioned the call, but the team were adamant that he had to pit again. Gone was a chance of victory. After the race, many questioned if this was a genuine puncture or that the team wouldn't want Russell to win as this would reflect badly on Hamilton. I personally don't think Mercedes were playing these games, but it did show what a talent Russell is and how much he had been wasting his time in a car not worthy of his skills. He had made most of this opportunity though, and only cruel luck meant he was robbed twice in the same race of a first victory. Instead, he did score his first points, finishing in 9th, a meager consolation when you think what could have been. Minichamps quickly announced this model car from that Sakhir Grand Prix, and it was released a few months ago. Rival brand Spark has also made a version, which they released a few months earlier than the Minichamps model. I was originally only planning on getting Russell's version of the W11. Minichamps convinced me though with the worn tires of the Lewis Turkey version. I then hesitated on getting the Russell car, but in the end I did purchase it too, well obviously. As I reviewed the Lewis Hamilton Turkish Grand Prix title winning model not too long ago, I'm not going to look at the same details on this model car. If you want to check out that review, you can do so by clicking on the link here in the top corner, or to follow the link at the end of the video. It is interesting though to be able to put them side by side to see what the differences are. To be fair, the car is basically the same, which you would expect as the Sakhir Grand Prix took place only a few weeks after Turkey, but there are a few noticeable differences though, on which we'll be focusing in this review. So let's compare both models then. And the most obvious difference is of course the driver's helmets. and this Russell version surely looks good enough. I don't really like the brownish visor decal Minichamps uses, so I've upgraded it with a tinted visor film. The steering wheel, just like on the Lewis version, is missing the small blue FIA sticker on top of the wheel originally. As you can see, I've added it on my model, and it's something that's quite noticeable, so I don't get how they missed it. Something they did notice is on the inside of the halo there's no purple line as Lewis had. Another noticeable difference then is the color of the car. This was also quite a debate among model car enthusiasts if the color of the Spark or Minichamps model was more accurate. As I understand, they are both not exactly right. On the Minichamps Turkey model it was difficult to judge as it is fully covered with a grey mist trying to replicate the race dirt. On this version here it looks like it has a more deeper black but with a bit of a metallic tint in it. Spark's version is just D-black without a faint metallic flake. In fact, the W11 did have a metallic tone, but this was very subtle, much more subtle than on the Minichamps model. But yeah, Spark's non-metallic black is also wrong, so neither are entirely accurate. The 2021 W12 Mercedes was decked out in a non-metallic black though. Aside from that, another obvious difference are the tires. This was a unique selling point on the Turkey version with a worn intermediate compound. Here on the Sakhir car, they are just regular slicks. The sidewalls do have a bit of extra markings, like the R and L's, and then George Russell's logo printed on. Although I always like this piece of detail, I will actually do something unique with the tires. I'll show it off after this segment, as a viewer had suggested I do a review of the model as it's released and then show the modifications afterwards. The rest of the car is more or less the same than the Turkey version. The front hasn't changed, I think. I must say I do think the cape is not very nicely detailed on the Minichamps. This part looks much better on the Spark version. All other aero on the nose, the suspension, the barge boards and the floor look to be unchanged as well. Only at the back of the car, the T-wing at the end of the engine cover fin is a totally different shape. Also the rear wing pillars are different, with now just one central pillar instead of two. Lastly, of course, the numbers are different, with George running his chosen number 63 instead of Hamilton's 44. So the conversion I had in mind was to actually make the car as it ran that one lap on the mixed tire set, as this was of course the catalyst to George's misfortunes that race. I basically then had to remove the Minichamps Pirelli markings and change it to the yellow compound Russell was given at the stops. So to remove them I used the acetone-free nail polish remover on a cotton bud and rubbed off the branding. When that was done, I applied the yellow compound Pirelli branding. And after that dried out, I then added the small barcode decal and then proceeded to make the other tire markings. So for the rears, I again put on the red L and R lettering and George's GR logo. And on the fronts, I applied the L and R again, and then Bottas's VB initials. Finally, I then also added a small blue sticker on the steering wheel, as I said, and a small visor tint. With that, my own version of the Russell Sakhir Grand Prix is all done. In conclusion, I think it's quite a basic model by Minichamps. There's nothing really fancy or special about it. Don't get me wrong, it's certainly not a bad model car, but there's nothing really to be blown away about it either. I think with the mods I've done to it, it gives it a bit more character and tells the story of that race a bit better too. But yeah, I don't think the model car is flawed or bad. It's just, I can't see it take center stage of anyone's collection unless you're a massive Russell or Mercedes fan. So this was my review of this slightly modified 118th Minichamps Mercedes W11 of George Russell from the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like my reviews. Check out the other videos too. And hopefully I'll see you again in the next one.